Imagine waking up in a country where schools are empty. No children. No noise. No future. This is already happening. Right now, people around the world are quietly deciding not to have kids. But what happens when an entire generation makes that same choice? What does the world look like on the other side? In Japan, only 686,000 babies were born in 2024. The lowest number since records began in 1899. More people are dying than being born. Every single year. For 18 years straight. Japan now sells more adult diapers than baby diapers. That tells you everything. Entire towns are vanishing. Communities that existed for centuries are now empty. Schools are shutting down, one by one. And the silence they leave behind is permanent. Now, here's what most people get wrong. This isn't because people hate children. It's because life has become too expensive. Rent is rising. Food costs more. Student debt doesn't disappear. Childcare alone can cost more than rent. And people are working longer hours than ever, with less to show for it. Young people feel forced to choose. Career or family. Stability or a child. That is not a choice anyone should have to make. In 2025, a global survey found that 1 in 5 people didn't have the number of children they actually wanted. They didn't choose this. Life made the choice for them. And that distinction matters more than anything else. And this isn't just Japan. Not anymore. The US recorded its lowest ever fertility rate in 2024, just 1.6 children per woman. South Korea is at 0.7, below 1. Their population could fall by 2/3 within a century. In Eastern Europe, births fell more than 10% in just the first half of 2025 alone. People aren't choosing freedom. They aren't being selfish. They're choosing survival. And if you're young, if you're working hard, if you're paying rent right now, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. So what happens next? Let's actually play this out. Fewer babies means fewer workers. In 10 to 20 years, businesses start struggling to find people. The OECD projects the working age population will shrink by 8% across developed nations by 2060. More elderly people. Fewer young workers to support them. The wait becomes impossible. Taxes will rise. They have to. Someone has to pay for pensions, healthcare, and everything else. GDP growth is already projected to slow by 40% across OECD nations. Without change, it only gets worse. Here's what nobody says out loud. The entire system was designed for growth. It only works with more young people. Pensions, healthcare, social security. All of it assumes that young workers will always be there to fund it. But what happens when they don't show up? Eventually, the system starts to break. But hold on. The economic collapse is just the surface. The real problem isn't about money. It's psychological. When people stop believing in the future, they stop building it. Young people today are the most educated, most connected generation in history. And many of them still feel completely stuck. They worry about climate, about instability, about raising a child in a world that feels increasingly out of control. And when a generation loses faith in tomorrow, the most natural thing, building a family, starts to feel like a gamble. Not a dream. A risk. And that shift, from dream to risk, is the deepest problem of all. Because when hope disappears, the future shrinks. And a society without hope doesn't just stop having children. It stops dreaming altogether. Let's be completely clear about one thing. This is not a personal failure. It is a system failure. A system built for a world that no longer exists. Work now consumes life. Not just jobs, careers, side hustles, survival gigs, second jobs. Costs keep rising. Wages haven't kept up. The gap between what you earn and what life costs just keeps widening. And stability has disappeared. Not just jobs, housing, healthcare, retirement. None of it feels guaranteed anymore. Having a child used to be the default. Now it requires a level of security that feels impossible to reach. Governments are trying. Japan spent $23 billion in 2024 alone to reverse this. It didn't work. Because cash doesn't fix structural exhaustion. It doesn't fix a system that forces people to choose between ambition and family. The math is simple. The harder life gets, the fewer people choose to start families. Until someone fixes the math, this continues. Japan isn't a warning from the future. Japan is a preview. It's just ahead. What Japan faces today, the US will face in 15 years. Europe is already there. Korea is further gone. The same forces. The same pressures. The same impossible choice between building a life and building a family. And no government, no policy, no incentive has found the answer yet. Because the answer isn't a check. It's a different kind of world. A world where life is livable. Where the future feels real. Where starting a family doesn't mean giving up everything else. So the question is simple. Will your country find that answer in time? Or is it already too late? Think about it. And leave a comment. What do you believe is the real reason people are choosing not to have children? I want to know what you think.